Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Endless Celts Podcast. Hope you're all well, who's listening and watching along, and also on catch up later on. As you can see, we're a duo again, Ross. We're a duo. I don't know if we have a name yet. Was it Second Sag, or was that you and Willie? I don't know.
Was it no Penn and Taylor or
Penn and
something?
Teller. Penn and Teller. That's the one. That's the one. But how are you, mate?
Aye, no bad, mate. I've got the a wee bit of the man flu kicking in the night, but powering on. There was nobody else to come on the night, so would have had to cancel otherwise. But looking forward to talking Celtic again.
I mean, I think our motto is that we only stop sometimes, and we couldn't stop tonight. So we couldn't have stopped tonight. There's already people in. John Boy Graham's in. Hill Troops. Alistair Jack. Ant and Dak. There we go. I mean, he's smaller. Who's the smaller one? Ant or Dak?
Deck.
Dak. So you're Dak now.
I'm definitely Deck guy. There's about
Paul
6 feet in it, kid.
He's one of what we're chatting about. We all know. I mean, it's the merry-go-round of the transfers and the managerial situation at the minute. You're getting about this evening. Listen, that podcast on Celts here was recorded yesterday with Quinny. It was a good one. I enjoyed it. It was something different. We all enjoyed it. And then getting an echo. You getting an echo? Maybe because I'm in the kitchen, but we have to just bear with it. I don't have a professional studio and all that. But see, to be fair, I think there's a lot of this week for me has. That's perfect, mate. You're perfect. That's fine. This week for me has been a weird week in so many aspects of life. I mean, we had the high last Saturday, Ross, all of us together celebrating in Willie's bar, Grace's, loving life, and very quickly after the final whistle, I think, especially me and you, maybe keeping Willie going a bit. We were like, he's off ski, he's saying cheerio to the fans, he was taking in the adulation, but you touched on it on Tuesday when we done the obviously reaction to the Postecoglou finally leaving, but we broke a world record. Do you know what I mean? And it feels like when we talk about the quadruple treble, it feels like it's disappeared off the face of the earth. We talk about this treble now; it's been overshadowed by Postecoglou leaving, and for me, it's playing into the media's hands in aspects where they don't have to lavish praise on a team that's a winning machine. Now they're focusing on the uncertainty about us going forward. But I mean, if we cast our minds back to Saturday, from my personal point of view, just going over there and having a laugh of usings, I fairly enjoyed it. And as I said, I free up in my rucksack like in the middle of the night, so everything was worth it in the end. But a world record, Ross, it's nothing to be sniffed at. It's a fantastic achievement by Celtic Football Club.
Aye, it's a phenomenal achievement. I touched on it briefly the other night. Dick and Dom. We touched on it briefly the other night. Just like to think that was it 2016 Rodgers came in? Is he? Is he
Yeah,
actual?
thank God. That's the rumour going about, yeah.
No way. Is he? Aye. Well,
yeah, he heard me. He knows he's done.
I didn't know that. But aye. It's an unbelievable achievement. To think when Rodgers came in, I think it was 2016, that we were on 3 trebles, and I know for like Rangers were back in the league, they were a hell of a weaker than Rangers teams we've faced down the years, but this Rangers team that we're facing now got to a European final last year, and we've ragdolled them about this season, like an empty tracksuit, and it's been a joy to watch. And I mean, Ange Postecoglou is gone now. We move on, but he provided some scintillating football, some of the best football I've seen. And we actually, you didn't want to say it because you didn't want it to come back and bite you, but you could see this treble coming for months. Like, even before the World Cup, you could see the treble coming. They've just been so relentless and so much better than everybody else this season. And I know Rangers beat us in the last game, but listen, Celtic didn't turn up that day and Rangers did. But at the same time, Celtic, the job was done. Just the whole season, from start to finish, right? Even before, but where I believed they probably were going to win the treble, or certainly the league anyway, was when they demolished Rangers 4-0 at Parkhead. Absolutely destroyed them that day, and that took the wind right out of Rangers' sails, that result, and Van Bronckhorst never recovered for that. But aye, outstanding achievement, and here's hoping to some more. Listen, if we keep going in the trajectory we are, I know obviously we don't know what manager we're going to have, but if we keep going in the trajectory we're going, it's going to be difficult for teams to stop us. We actually should have won a treble last year, but for maybe, I don't know, a poor half hour, maybe against Rangers in the semi-final, if memory serves me right. Other than that, if we didn't have that poor half hour, if we didn't lose Greg Taylor, we'd probably win another treble that year. So it's very difficult for teams to stop Celtic now. Rangers will do all they can, and they'll come back stronger, but I quite believe that Celtic will as well.
Yeah, 100%. But we're going to come on, obviously, the whole rumours about who the next manager is going to be, and there's some frightening prospects for us, but we'll get into that very quickly. Alistair Jackham's in here. This is something I do want to touch upon shortly. Have you seen Ange's speech for Spurs, word for word, what he said to us, poor Willie? We will come on to that, but I want to cast our minds back to the run that we had before, obviously, the league title when we lifted it at Celtic Park versus Aberdeen, and then obviously the cup final. Now, I've seen a lot of people saying this, Celtic content and different Celtic podcasts, and it kind of struck a bell with me, but I want to get opinions of people on the comments and yourself, Ross. Do you think the players knew what was happening and that kind of aided to the drop in form? And even Maeda, that time when he came on against Hibs, he just looked like a man possessed. There's been a lot of murmuring saying maybe that was his attitude towards what the situation was at the club. He came in because of Postecoglou and maybe unsettled him at that particular moment in the season. Do you buy into that, or was it just the case of what you said, or what we all said, basically, he was just rotating and seeing what was best?
No, I probably don't buy into that, to be honest with you. I think the league was won, and Postecoglou decided to tinker with the team. On reflection, it's difficult to say whether he knew or not. For me, the way he tinkered with the team, I don't think if he was wanting to go to Spurs, or if he knew he was going to go to Spurs, or he was maybe in line to go to Spurs, I don't think he tinkers with the team because he wants to showcase his managerial skills. And on the evidence of the 3 games, if you just took it off the evidence of the 3 games, you wouldn't get the Spurs job.
Yeah.
But
no, you wouldn't.
For me, so based on that, it's difficult to say. You don't know for sure, but I can't say one way or the other whether he knew at that time that he was going. I dare say he knew that Spurs were interested. I don't think there would have been much contact at that point, and if Spurs wanted to, I think Ange would have probably rebuffed it, because whatever you want to say about the guy, he's laser focused, and he said it in one of his interviews. We've worked hard to get where we are. The players have worked hard to get to this point, and we're not going to let anything get in the way of achieving our goal. So I dare say, as I say, he's known of interest, but I don't think at that point he spoke to Spurs. I think probably nearer the final, maybe in between the Aberdeen game and the final, in the background, there's probably been more conversation, because it has. But then at the same time, there probably hasn't been too much direct conversation with Ange. I think a lot of it would have been done through his agent. But then in that final week, he's probably had more contact. And then after the final, I think he's basically went and met Levy straight after the final.
Mm-hmm.
And thrashed out everything that needed thrashed out. And
well,
as I say,
to be honest with you, Ross, just to kind of push back on what you're saying there, I don't believe these negotiations took over a course of 2 days. I really think we'll be naive to believe that there was no tentative. Aye, but I mean, like, you can't thrash out a 4-year deal. I think there's been in contact for at least 1 to 2 months here. I know his agent, Frank.
They'd be missing out Ange. They would be going through the agent and stuff.
Yeah.
Sorry, I keep wiping my nose here, but I can't help it.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I think as well, by the way, we've got a new subscriber in the comments, John. Nice to have you along, John, with the rest of them. It's good to see people getting involved. Rick, he asked where Dunny is. You know where Dunny is, Rick. He's out in the last, is it, like you said. Facial expression says it all, Stephen. Top lads, hail, hail. And I look at it as well. Like, I was probably, not took my own horn, I don't like to do this, but I was probably one of the ones that was adamant he was going to leave. Alistair Jack, who's in the comments, he was Neil Baldwin. Scott Munn was named as their sporting director of football, with their close links to the Melbourne and Brisbane Roar and the Yokohama Minaros. So they know each other from the City Group. So there's that link. And then today, the new kind of Tottenham press conference type 1 minute short clip of Postecoglou, who was meant to be on holiday this week, by the way, but it turns out them holidays were cancelled, and he's took a bus straight down to White Hart Lane, and he's signing on the dotted line and posing with the jerseys. Now that speaks to me, made me instantly angry. I shared it with all of us in the group. I think we all had different reactions. There was a lot of sick emojis, wasn't there? There was a lot of that type of stuff. Quick, easy question to yourself: do we have a right to be angry with him?
Everybody's entitled to feel how they feel. Personally, I'm not angry with him. I look at that interview that you put in the day, and it's sort of that, just like what every manager or every player says, that they speak positive about their new club. It was like a copy and paste of what he said to us, and he has been saying to us. But I think most players and managers that go into clubs, they speak in like sort of sound bites. They all use the same sort of language. It's like media trained, like right down to a T. This is what you have to say. I think he's been helped along the way with what to say. But I mean, he's been in enough clubs now that he knows how to start off with his first interview. Listen, that wasn't a press conference. We'll see what his first press conference is like.
Short clip. Aye. Yeah.
We'll see if his first press conference is similar to what he gave to us, because the one he gave to us was so strong and it put us at ease. Listen, everybody's entitled to feel how they feel, how they want to feel about Ange leaving. Listen, I've said that enough times. I get why he done it. He's going to progress his career. At the end of the day, that's what he's there for. He's not a Celtic fan. He's said that enough times, by the way. People pick out all the stuff that he said that sort of they think he played as like a fiddle, but at the same time, he has always alluded to the fact that we are the constant, we are invested in the club. He's just passing through. He said that.
Yeah, he has. Yeah.
On more than one occasion. So you have to be fair. If you want to pick out the ones where the chest beating and stuff like that, you also have to pick out the fact that he has said, I'm just passing through.
Yeah, I think as well, like in the comments, Sean the Mac, he'll be thumping his chest, and the next one, McGranda came in and said, we're bigger than Spurs. No doubt about that in my mind.
No doubt.
Am I Dead seems to be a new name in, so nice to have you along. As a manager staying for a while, like Martin, 5 or 6 years, I think in the past, are they leaving too soon? I think with that one, to be fair, it's a cycle now. These managers are looking to make that move 2 to 3 years, doing well at the job. Rick, no anger for me, lads. We move on. And by the way, I'm excited for the future. Who's to say it wasn't the absolute right timing? And then Barry Boy, let's see, I missed that one. He was off when the Dermot Desmond pick in his house and all is going up for sale. I think, like, you have to look at it as well. Like, you mentioned, to be honest, Ross, you mentioned there, he's said enough times, we're just passing through this great club. The fans are the constant, and we'll always be there supporting them. But I think what kind of throws pie back in his face is, on the league title day, he's quoting Tommy Burns. And I know, like, that's great that you hear him on the mic and you're like, fuck, he's staying, he's going to stay. And then you suddenly kind of, the realization sinks in, he didn't mention next season, people are panicking. So I think maybe the anger comes from a point of the press conferences leading up to that certain game when we won the treble, him quoting Tommy Burns, him taking the allegation, the support of the crowd, and then he's off ski that 2 days after we lift the treble and make history. And obviously he said he was going on holiday. I mean, let's be fair, he's not on holiday. We know the big man's not on holiday. So again, he thrashed out the rest of the deal on Monday, and then he's off. And I look at it as well. There's rumours he wants to take Kennedy and Strachan with him. Do you think if they are approached or if they want to leave the club, do you think they should go, or does Celtic need continuity at the minute?
Well, if they're approached to leave, and by all accounts, I think Kennedy does want to go and join Ange. Listen, if Kennedy wants to go and join Ange, there's no point in fighting to keep him because his head's not here anymore. He wants to work under Ange and learn under him. There's no point in keeping somebody at the club if they don't want to be here. That's not to say that he doesn't want to be here. That's just rumours. But I mean, what's that? The Tom Burns quote. Listen, see in terms of Tom Burns quote, I did think this myself, but I hadn't actually said it. And somebody put it in the comments of the last podcast. I can't mind her name. Sure, it was a woman that put it on, and she said about what?
No, I was just laughing to myself when you said that. You were so certain it was a woman.
Aye, no, definitely was a woman, but I can't mind her name. But she had said, like, with the Tommy Burns quote, I don't think, and I sort of agree with this, I don't think he was going out to make it like he was Mr. Celtic and he was quoting Tommy Burns. I think he was using it to give the fans adulation for how they've supported the team. He was just repeating what Tommy Burns had said and just recognising that yous are always there. But by the way, I'm getting to fuck kind of thing.
Do you know something? On the Celts Are Here podcast with Quinny, which we recorded last night, he said the exact same thing. That was like probably planting the seed that maybe he's saying the fans are here, but I'm maybe going to leave the club. And I didn't really think about it. It's actually amazing that you thought about it because it never crossed my mind. But to come to the comments again, I want to go back up here because I know you want me to read it out. I'm guessing this is Pizza. Ange will be beating the chest for Spurs as he has to be invested in the club he's managing. He loves Celtic and will always support us, but he's a manager and won all he could in Scotland. Yeah, again, that's a good summary of it. But at the end of the day, Champions League and European football is where for me he failed. Maybe he could have had another crack at that. Plons McNugget, Kennedy wants and should go. John's in his first game is in Australia, which would be that's amazing for Spurs. Like, to be honest, Sean the Mac, he'll be quoting Danny Blanchford next week. Adios, Angelos. It's all about Celtic. Everyone, I mean, it's like the stages of grief, isn't it? It is. It really is. The first couple of days you're sad, then it's angry, then it's like I understand why this has happened. I mean, Sean the Mac again. Good luck, John Cannon, if he wants to go. Bye bye. With this, like, if John Kennedy and Strachan go, right, and let's be honest here, we all wanted to leave after the 10 season, right? But Anne's come in with no staff, so they kind of needed to stay around. And what always sticks in my mind when he walked into the canteen and he fist pumped both of them with the face mask on, you're kind of going, aye, they're staying. I want them to go. I think it's time for them to fly the nest and us. It kind of paves the way for the new manager to come in and be like, this is my assistant, my coach, and then you still have the physio who's been there, you still have the goalkeeping coach, and then Mark Lawwell, Michael Nicholson, who create that environment where you're comfortable and you know what's going on with it within Celtic Football Club. And you look at the structure side of things, Ross, and we're going to come on to the manager soon, and we're quite passionate about this Enzo Maresca character. I know John, who is an avid watcher of Serie B, he will disagree with everything we're going to say about him, but do you think this maybe mounts into the fact that we might need to look at the director of football again to come in? Maybe Mark Lawwell's being like that. Do we need that structure change where if this happens again with another manager, we can just identify quickly and bring a new guy in? Because at the end of the day, it feels like to me we're scrambling again. We don't know what to be at, where to go and look, and you get a wee bit of the same names on the short list with the mixes of different people who we're going to come on to. But if the structure's in place, in my opinion, if you have that kind of the style you want to play, if you want that profile of manager, you want that profile of player, it makes sense to have that kind of head of recruitment, director of football, and then manager. What's your opinion on that?
It all depends on what manager you bring in. If it's somebody like Postecoglou, you might not want a director of football. I know we had David Webb on a while ago, and he explained what a director of football's job was. Listen, that's a while ago. I can't really mind the full ins and outs of a director of football. It's no something that I would be desperate for Celtic to have. Listen, I would like us to continue with the style of football that Ange has played.
Yep,
absolutely. I think it really suits what we have in our heads as the Celtic way. So aye, and I know we'll go on to Maresca. People are wanting him in because they believe that he'll continue in the Ange style. There is other managers far more experienced that could do that as well. I don't know about a director of football. Maybe I'm a bit old school. It doesn't really bother me. I just want the manager to do all the stuff. I'm used to a manager, a number two, and a few coaches. I think it works. I think you can overcomplicate things. We don't need a director of football to continue with the style that we've been playing. We need a manager to come in and continue that, and the players to buy into the manager and go for there.
Yeah, I think the director of football as well. I mean, for me, I would like it because that's the continuity that you're looking for, because they have the style of manager they need. There's a style in place that they're going to stick to, so they know the profile to bring in. Where, I mean, if we're linked with Moyes, we're linked with Maresca, we're linked with different types of managers who play different ways. So that doesn't really work in the aspect of we want to keep the Postecoglou style, which we all really do. It's fantastic way of football. Well, they've got a couple of managers now, Ross, and obviously the one that's kind of front and centre. I mean, bringing back home. It's the return of Zorro. It's the Irishman. It's the guy who's the biggest ego in the world. It's Brendan Rodgers. I'll let you take this away. Where do you see him fitting in? Do you think it's a good move, or do you think it's like, what are you doing, Celtic?
Brendan Rodgers in a bag of cans, mate. That's all I want. But no, listen, he is. It'd be divisive, absolutely, with the fans. I think you know what you're going to get with Brendan Rodgers. We've seen it. He'll bring success. He'll continue, not the exact same style, but he'll continue with a good brand of attacking football. And I think with these players as well, that he would, obviously, he might lose one or two and he'll bring in one or two of his own. But in general, I think this is an attacking team, and it would work bringing Brendan Rodgers in. Excuse me. I know that a lot of fans, like I've said, probably wouldn't be on board with it because of the way he left. But I think if Brendan Rodgers comes in and starts winning football matches, all is forgiven. He will. I think he will bring success again. Excuse me. But listen, last week, if you'd asked me, would Brendan Rodgers take the job? I thought
his head's still in the pump.
Well, I know. Well, Pete will be half canned, isn't he? But last week, if you asked me, I thought probably not, because I thought he'd be holding out for the West Ham job. I thought Davy Moyes would lose his job regardless of the result in the final. But turns out the West Ham chairman has came out and said that as long as he wants to be there, then he'll remain the manager. So I feel like that to happen. I know, but I feel expect Davy Moyes to stay there. So, I mean, where does Rodgers go? Does he take the Crystal Palace job? I think Potter will get that. I think we'll maybe go on to him. But I've basically covered what I think. I would take Potter, but I don't think he'll come because I think he'll take the Palace job. But I think for me, Rodgers is my first choice. Absolutely, because you know what you're going to get. It's low risk.
Yeah, with Rodgers, like I'm with you, the Rodgers and bag of cans type movement. I mean, I said it before. You look at the way he left. Fair enough, it was bad, but again, he left us in a good position, and all needed was that push over the line. Do you know what I mean? I think, me personally, you're different. I know Postecoglou, he rejected a Brighton, Leeds, and Southampton. during the time he was with Celtic. But I think if Spurs came knocking mid-March and offered him a concrete job offer, I think he'd be away. You referenced David Moyes. That name instantly makes me want to switch off this podcast. I do not. I don't know. It's no disrespect to him, but there's nothing that excites me about him. He's standing around hugging Mark Warburton as his assistant. Do you know what I mean? Winning the Conference League, which is a great achievement, but I don't want
Mark
them
Warburton?
to. He's his assistant coach.
Is he?
Yeah. Hi, mate. Yeah.
Didn't know that.
Stuart Pearce left. Stuart Pearce left, I believe, so he had to replace him. But I don't want them near Celtic Football Club. Strange of the Doctor. I don't want Brendan Rodgers anywhere near Celtic side. He will ruin what Ange has built. But see, to be fair, Strange, other managers might do the same. They might want different styles and different ways of playing. So we'll have to be comfy with the thought that we might lose some of the star players under the Postecoglou regime. But for me, Rodgers, I'd take him back, right? I'd take him back for the simple reason he's a winner.
Mm-hmm.
He's an egotistical maniac, right? He'll say things that make you believe. He make you believe the sky's green. So I mean, that's the type of guy he is. Postecoglou was like that in a way. Difference is now we can see for his crap. Do you know what I mean? So he'd have to be a bit more discreet about it. The way he plays, like you said, is very similar. The only thing he doesn't do is the inverted fullbacks, but the wingers play the same. They're coming in. Scott Sinclair did that fantastically well, coming in off the left to score goals. Forrest had his best season for goal scoring wise under Rodgers.
See, you're talking about the inverted fullbacks. This is my worry, right? I love Greg Taylor. Greg Taylor's played his best football as an inverted fullback. I still, as a defender, I still really, really like him. But as an overlapping fullback, he's just not quite the level that you want. I don't know that if... I know you like Bernabei. Listen, it depends on what manager comes in, but Bernabei's nowhere near good enough defensively. But if the new manager wants to have an overlapping fullback, he might end up playing Bernabei. But that's a worry. But listen, we might go on to who we're looking at in terms of ins and outs and stuff like that.
And then Ram McWilliams, the bread man, is Moyes' assistant. I look backwards and bring Rodgers back, though. Surely there's a new man we could bring in. Let's go on to some of the people who we could bring in. We'll start with the Bodo Glimt manager, Ross. Knutson took me from the second tier in Norway, the back-to-back league championships in the first division, a European run in that. Tactically out schooling Postecoglou in 2 games, home and away. Would he excite you? Is that the type of person you would be like, I'd have him in? Because let's be honest here, Postecoglou came from an obscure background, right? Obviously, we took him from the J League. Knutson, people are saying it's like Ronnie Dyla, but I don't think so. I think Ronnie could have been the right man, but it was just the wrong time for that appointment, in my opinion. So I mean, we were kind of in a state where it was like we were going to win the league season on season because they weren't in it. And then obviously getting beaten that semi-final kind of put the nail in his coffin for Ronnie. But he's went on to do great things at Standard Liège. Now he's at Club Brugge. He's a top club in Belgium. But what about Knutson? Where does he stand in your ranking at the minute for management?
I mean, on the list for Celtic.
Aye, and if you don't want to, if it's not Knutson, who would you go with?
I would say, well, if it's not Rodgers, because he's my first choice, but I would probably say him and Potter. Maybe Potter's just ahead of him, but I would probably, you could maybe put Knutson into second choice because, as I've said, I think Potter will probably take the Palace job. Listen, you've alluded to his success in Norway there, back-to-back titles. I think he won He won the second division and then won the obviously the top league. But then I think he finished 18 points. He finished behind last year.
I think so, yeah.
Aye. Listen, I think they're top of the league. Or, well, I don't know. Is the league finished there? I'm not sure.
I'll have a look. I think
they're sitting top of the league. No, I think their league is still ongoing now. I think they don't play at the same time as us. Must be due to weather and stuff. I don't know, but I think they're top of the league now. Listen, he plays a similar style to Ange played. I think that's what we want. We want somebody to come in and do that. He's got a bit of experience. He's got experience in Europe. He played against Celtic. And like you said, they beat us convincingly. I don't think he outsmarted Ange tactically. I just think at the time he got Celtic a better time. I think if he got that Bodo team last season, got this Celtic team now, I think it'd be far closer than it was.
Bodo Glimt didn't play for a whole month before we played them.
I know, but that's nothing
So
to do with tactics.
But if you're looking at that aspect of it, right, I think we'd be confident to say our squad's better than their squad. So tactics do come into, in a sense, where Knutson over 2 legs.
How can you say their squad's better than their squad? They got to a European semi-final and they beat Roma 6-1. Their team was better than us. That's why they beat us. They played us off the park.
I don't think it was a better squad, though. I think it was just more tactics that won that game for him. And it was. I agree with you in the part where maybe we were in the journey of the tactic evolution of Postecoglou. We didn't quite have the 90-minute team where we could go 90 minutes, where Bodo Glimt were under a 4-year regime under Knutson, playing similar football. So that would have been better that way. That, for me, won the game. I don't think player quality did. I think tactics and the way of playing did, which was similar to us, but maybe Bodo Glimt were further on that journey.
Listen, see Ange, like I know I've said there, I don't think he got outsmarted tactically in that game. I don't think Ange is an amazing tactician. He doesn't. His in-game management isn't unbelievable. He does the same thing all the time.
He does,
but it's because he believes in his style. And for the most part in Scotland, I don't know what it's been like in other leagues, but for the most part in Scotland, his style takes the game away from teams early enough that he doesn't have to change tactically to try and get back into a game or whatever. He just takes guys off and brings a like for like on, makes a triple substitution. But when Lennon was doing that, I don't know, whenever he was last the manager, if he was bringing like for like on, the game wasn't done. It was still tight, and you were going off your head like he's just bringing like for like on. It's fucking shite and all that. Whereas Postecoglou has done that his entire time, but most of the time the game's away from the team because his style of play. I think, in terms of Brendan Rodgers, I think he's a better in-game manager than Postecoglou, but his style doesn't he? Certainly in Scotland. Listen, time will tell if Postecoglou's style is going to work in England. I think, obviously, I think he's a mixture of Guardiola and Klopp in terms of, I think the energy he plays with resembles a Klopp team, but the tactics resemble, like the way they set up, resemble a Guardiola team. There's a mix of both in there. But the way they take the game to teams, it all depends on who he brings in and what he does with this Spurs team. But I think for the most part it will work against teams that are further down the league. But when they come up against a Man City, a Liverpool, the top teams, he might get found out depending on who he brings in and how strong this squad is at the end of the window. But listen, we sort of veered off what we were talking about there. I went off on a tangent.
I like it. Bring it on. I like it. Rick's come in Wednesday announcement. We'll come on to that one, but I think it's going to be. I've noticed you've asked that a few times. I haven't been ignoring it. Don't worry about that. But another new name in Estebona boy. I'm guessing that must be Spanish. How's it going? Like you've been away for a while. Just like to listen to the crack. Good to have you on, buddy. There's a couple of new subscribers in. We're 85 live. Hit the like button. Help our algorithm. At the end of the day, want to grow. Want to get us out there, the more you. I mean, it's good crack building this community with everyone who's been with us from the start. Hit the like, hit the bell, hit subscribe. Share us everywhere. Let's go. But another name you mentioned as well. I mean, this is probably the one that's like the one that's more far-fetched, and I agree with you in this essence. Graham Potter. And if you look at his background in Östersunds in Sweden, it's from Division 4 right up to the top league. Beating Arsenal in the Europa League, winning the top division in Sweden, plus a couple of trophies. Going to Swansea, done a decent job in the Championship. Then he moved up to Brighton, brung Brighton to the Premier League and kept them there until he left. And then Chelsea, I think, to be honest, let's be fair here, it failed for a number of reasons. Ted Bowley is literally a basket case. He had no control over the transfers. They were signing all these flashy players like Mudryk, and maybe not to fit his style. He had to play Raheem Sterling as a left wing back. That's not what he wants to do. I think for me personally, if Rodgers doesn't get the job, I would love him to push the boat out to get Graham Potter. I just love the way he plays. I think it's very adventurous, and like you said, Ross, it bring that excitement, the buzz back again from the kind of the down feeling. Even though we just won the treble, by the way, a world record treble that we're all feeling at the minute. Would you take Graham Potter as like a second choice if Rodgers didn't get it?
I absolutely would. I think Graham Potter is at the time when we were looking for a manager when Ange came in. I think he's very similar to Eddie Howe. He is the Eddie Howe of this search, if you like. And I know that he's not the number one target as far as I know at the moment. I think his stock, I said it a couple of podcasts ago maybe, his stock is still quite high in England. I think a lot of teams like Crystal Palace, teams of that sort of mid-table level, will still think he's a good manager, even off the back of that. Well, you just look at it. David Moyes went into Man U off the back of being really good at Everton. But I think he lost his job after 8 months. He's had numerous jobs in the top flight since and done all right. He's done pretty well with West Ham. I think that'll be the same for Graham Potter. And he plays a...
Sorry, I dozed off there.
Not because of me, I hope.
No, David Moyes. I told you, it makes me tired instantly.
No, listen. See David Moyes, right? I don't want him as the next Celtic manager or a Celtic manager at any point. Certainly not for this team, right? David Moyes is a very good manager. He's a guy that he managed Everton for a number of years. He's now at West Ham. That is his sort of level. He plays with big, strong, athletic players. He gets the ball forward quick, misses out the midfield. It works in a sort of middle of the road English club where he's maybe flirting with going down, but sometimes he can get them above where they're going, where they should be, which is floating about mid-table. Sometimes he maybe get them between 8 and 6, just depending on how well the season's going. But coming into Celtic, a team who dominates the ball 99% of the time in domestic games, David Moyes is know what Celtic need.
Totally agree.
Maybe if he see in Europe, he would maybe be what Celtic need, but because he's more, well, you've seen it with West Ham. It's pretty boring, but he gets results. But the players that Celtic need to go and win the Scottish Premier League is no big athletic guys, no anymore. I know it was under Martin O'Neill 20 years ago or whatever. The football's changed, and for Celtic to go and win a league, they need players in a team like they have now, or the team like Brendan Rodgers assembled, attacking free-flowing teams. Davy Moyes is no the guy for that. I didn't want him anywhere near the Celtic job, but he is a good manager.
Yeah, he is a good manager. And Monty points out you're on the happy pills tonight, Ross. Or is it Michael Ross? I maybe got that wrong. I've totally messed up that comment, Monty. But there you go.
Happy pills.
Ross is. Because you're always happy, Ross, but I think he's talking about this guy, Michael Ross. But I think with Moyes, I mean, I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I'm just having a laugh when I say makes me bored. It's what you said. It's a style and brand of play. And that's the only issue with me. Coming into us, we don't need that. We don't need hatchet men. We're quite set in how we want to play now and go forward. And one of the guys linked with a job, which I think this is probably the most laziest link that we could have made up, from the City group, from Mark Lawwell, from Dermot Desmond, apparently being best chums with Pep on the golf course, is Enzo Maresca. Now, just a wee bit of profile in Enzo Maresca. He went to Parma. He had 14 games in Serie B, won 4, drew 4, and lost the rest. I think that's 8 games he lost. Something like that anyway. And he got sacked after that amount of games. He's went back as a coach for Pep Guardiola. During the time he was with the City group beforehand, he won the Premier Division 2, which is like the reserve league for Man City, the first time they ever won that, which is a good achievement in itself. And he's been in charge of youth academies and stuff like that, and he's Pep's assistant. But like we said, Ross, just because you're an assistant under a world class manager doesn't mean you're going to make the grade and make that jump to be a world class manager yourself. And I referenced someone last night in our group chat, Ian Caffro, for me, is case in point. He worked under Rafa Benitez. He worked under some great managers before he got the chance at Hearts, and he was meant to be the next big manager with great ideas and like a Nagelsmann like in terms of age, that type of stuff. And he came in and he totally flopped. And I don't see nothing of Enzo Maresca that excites me. His time in Parma was terrible. I know John says it was because they're a bad club, but again, the two other managers who's come in after Enzo Maresca at Parma have failed as well. So there must be some gravitas in the fact that they're not doing a great job, because I'm sure they have Buffon and that's a good starting point. You know what I mean? So with Enzo Maresca, it's a dead no for me. I think that would be the totally wrong move. I would understand that maybe it was back in the Ronnie Daly era when we're looking to change direction maybe and do that structure we were talking about at the start of the podcast. But where do you stand with it, and how do you feel? How would you feel if he got the job? Because he's the favourite, the bookie's favourite at the moment.
Well, if he got the job, it would be that word that's been used many times in this podcast. Underwhelmed. Absolutely underwhelmed. Listen, you've made the case there that just because he's Pep's number 2 doesn't mean he's got to come in and basically be Pep or be really a really good manager. At the same time, I concede that he might come in and be. Sorry, thank you. I'm just getting another wee pint there.
Oh, look at that! Look at that! On top. Go on.
Aye, but at the same time, it doesn't mean to say he's not going to come in and be a really good manager. I just think you don't know. But with the facts or the stuff that I have in front of me now, without the benefit of hindsight, I think Maresca is too high risk. That I've heard people making the case. We didn't know anything about Ange when he came in, and that's all well and good. But when you get to read about Ange when he first came in, because obviously you give him the respect, you try and find out about him, and you realise that he comes with a bit of pedigree. He managed in numerous different countries, and he won everywhere he went. He managed his country, his national team, at a World Cup, and he had 20 odd years experience under his belt. I don't do cocktails, money. But he had 20 odd years experience under his belt, and people have said, obviously I'd said there, nobody knew about Ange, but he had that pedigree. You read about Maresca, okay, he has worked under Pep. That is it. That's his pedigree. That's his CV. So for me, you can't make the case we didn't know anything about Ange, because he has got so much on his CV to offer, and he showed that when he came, whereas Maresca hasn't got anything. And again, I'll say it, he might come in and surprise us and do well, and I would back the guy if he got the job. But right now, looking at it, for me, you look at Brendan Rodgers, and I've said he would be my number 1 choice, and the reason being is, you know what you're going to get. It's low risk, and we might get 2 or 3 years out of him. But I think that is the shelf life. No matter who you get in, that is like if Maresca comes in and does really well, you're going to get 2 or 3 years out of him. Then he's going to go to the Premier League. If Rodgers comes in and does well, you're going to get the same. But you know that Rodgers is going to come in and do well. You don't know that Maresca is, and that is Celtic for me. Should not be just because he's worked under Pep, should not be taking a number 2 for anybody. They should be taking a man who has got some experience and has worked as a number 1 for a number of years, because we can attract that. We've attracted Rodgers, and I know Ange has obviously been really good, and people say didn't know anything about him, but his CV spoke for itself. And Celtic knew that. and they got him. Celtic have got a healthy squad right now. They've got Champions League football. They're financially stable. They're in an attractive job. And I understand it would be an attractive job for Maresca to get his sort of foot on the ladder. But we're not a foot in the ladder club, for me. Listen, I'll say it again. He might come in and do well. But right now, for me, no thanks. I would be, it'd be too much a risk. And I would be shitting myself if we got him in.
Yeah, I mean, you made a great point in the fact that we're not a starting step for a new manager who's just literally coming fresh out of an assistant type role. They do that across the city. We made fun of them for doing it. Let them do that. We crack on with the top man. But what we need to get comfy with the thought is, for me, we're a stepping stone club. We can't deny that anymore. We'll have to face them facts. And you made a great point. Celtic are the most attractive as a club proposition for a manager we've been in years. So if you look at the headlines yesterday, the Spanish guy Areola applied for the job. He'd done a cracking job at the Liga. These types of guys are going to be attracted now because they've looked at Postecoglou being 2 years is all he done, and he got a move to a top six club, de facto top six club in England. And then you look at the fact that we're going, why can we not make the move into like a Napoli or a Borussia Dortmund or, do you know what I'm saying? All them types of clubs, because that opens up doors and opens up possibilities for us to explore. The Enzo Maresca link for me, I just think is absolutely lazy. I think that would be the easiest appointment in essence, because it's a City Group link and Pep's put in a good word and Dermot Desmond's added up and he comes in. And yeah, you're right. He might do a job, Ross, but we're not in a position where we can take a risk. We need to keep pushing forward. We need to get ready for this transfer window. We need to have all their ducks in a row and take advantage of what position we are in as a club. We've got guaranteed Champions League football. We're in group stage football. We don't have to qualify, which is great. We're getting a whole lot of cash coming in the game from that. The turnover is going to be record breaking. The season tickets have sold out, which Celtic done quite sneakily by not offering an extended extension like they always do. But see, looking at European football, now one of the worries I have, this new manager coming in, we talked about this with Ange Postecoglou. The first year, we're always like, we'll have to get used to it. We're getting used to the style of play of the new manager and stuff. And I don't like that. I think that's the board. I think the board want us to fight like that, like it's a free hit again. I don't believe this year for me is. Last year, I could kind of leave it in the past, but I still believe it was a failure. We've done crap, and the year previously, we've done crap as well. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Should the European side of things be on top of it this season, along with the domestic level? Obviously, bread and butter win the league, but we need to make a better fist of it in Europe.
Listen, I'm sure I've said it in a previous podcast just recently. I think it was probably before Ange had left. If we're going forward with Ange as the manager, you're looking at next season and you're thinking, league, bare minimum domestically, always. And then if you can win the other two trophies, great. But for me, the priority next season under Ange would have been to progress in Europe. You could forget about, if we didn't win the other two domestic cups, you can forget about it, because the progression then would be doing better in Europe. Maybe not getting out the group, but getting third place and then winning a knockout tie. That's progression. That's the next stage that Celtic haven't. They haven't crossed that sort of bridge for a long time, and it's well overdue. Albeit we've been so successful domestically, but some sort of inroads in Europe is well overdue. And I still believe that going forward now, obviously without Ange, that should be the case with this squad of players. We should look to win the league and do better in Europe. If we don't win the two domestic cups, I'm okay with that, as long as we progress and show a bit more in Europe and give a good account of ourselves. And for me, that's why, like you've said, this appointment isn't a free hit, because just because we've won a domestic treble, we've done that. We've done trebles, we've done doubles, we're dominating. Everybody can see that. I still believe we'll win the league, but we now need to move on to Europe. Listen, it's your bread and butter, we know that, but we need to move on to the next stage. in Europe. And for me, that is why that's the risk factor of bringing an Enzo Maresca in is too high.
Mm-hmm.
He might well come in and win Celtic a league title, but I don't think he's going to come in and be the guy that's going to help us get to the next stage in Europe. I think it needs to be a guy, and it needs to be a guy with experience. And I do get, I'm championing for Brendan Rodgers to come in, and he's been shocking in Europe for every club he's been at. At Liverpool, he was horrendous. At Celtic, not great at all. He obviously got the draw again. I think it was 2 draws against Man City. The second one, Man City were already through, but still a good result. The other games, albeit you have to say it was Barcelona, I think, and PSG.
Yeah, PSG.
I mean, they're difficult games. They are, but to go down 6 and 7-0 or whatever it was, it's not good enough. So if he is the man that comes in, he has to get better tactically in Europe, or he has to. What's that?
If a manager's going to stay 2 or 3 seasons,
listen, I totally agree with that. That's my thinking entirely. Like I've said, if we get Maresca in and he does well, he's going to go anyway. So let's get the highest quality, most experienced manager you can get at Celtic. Bring us success for 2 or 3 years and move on. I'm actually at peace with that now. I fully understand that's what's going to happen. But see, as long as they bring success and it keeps rolling on, and I know it's difficult, at some point that'll catch up if you keep changing managers every 2 or 3 years. Of course it will. But it'll maybe catch up with us for a year like it did in the COVID season. But then Celtic are so financially strong that they'll come back and rebuild. And as long as they get the right man to do it, it'll be all good.
I think for me, like what Monty said and what you said there as well, the Enzo Maresca type is a project. Yeah, we all agree on that aspect of things. The European landscape of football is changing, I think, next year. So we need to be ready for that as well. And there's more money going to be coming in, and we need to take advantage of that. And I look at this season's Champions League, and you're right, with Postecoglou, we're thinking, get out the group, get into the Europa League, make a fist of it. But that mindset for me, you're struggling. That mindset for me, that mindset for me doesn't change. It doesn't change who we bring in. We need to push hard for Europe, and we need to set our stall very early on. And I know different styles of play, but this again comes back to the aspect of continuity, style of play, manager and play similar. Then hopefully it clicks into place. But if we look at the transfers, different players, Kyogo, Hatate, Matt O'Reilly, Jada, all them types. Who for you do you think are going to leave, and are you afraid of leaving?
I don't think anybody's going to leave. I do think somebody will leave. I don't know who it will be. I really don't. There's been a wee kind of murmurings, Matt O'Reilly, interest in him. I think Hatate will probably go. I think it was, if Ange had stayed, kind of was on the fence whether he would go or not. I think he probably will go now. I'm really worried that Ange will come in for Kyogo. Listen, I don't know if he can make that step to that next level at Spurs. I think his work rate, he's a really good player. His runs and stuff like that, better midfielders would find him. They would find their runs, and it would make him look better again. Thanks, Pam.
Thanks, Pam.
Listen, they two are probably my biggest worry about leaving. I really don't know. I think that players will leave as long as the squad isn't decimated and it ends up being a sort of mini rebuild. We don't want that, especially and if it is going to be that, we need to get the guy in pretty soon. Like,
yeah, that's the issue. So
it's a worry. It is because at the end of the season we've won a treble and you're thinking everyone's rosy. We're just going to add to this squad, and we were laughing at Kenny Miller and stuff saying, "Oh, Rangers, there's nothing between the squads." Celtic only need to add 1 or 2. Rangers maybe get 5 or 6 players in, and it'll be really close. And I'm like, well, you've just said what's in between the squads. You know what I mean? You said there's nothing, and then said that there is 5 or 6. But now you're looking at it and you're going, right, we've lost our manager. Who are we going to lose? And then are we going to fall backwards? Is the manager going to be good enough? We're in limbo now, and it's not fucking nice.
It's not nice, and that comes into many aspects of it, because a new manager might want a new style, need to reshuffle the squad, bring new players in to take time to settle in. Ange Postecoglou might be looking at Kyogo, the likes of Jada, and then you've got Matt O'Reilly apparently being like with Brighton again. I think personally for me, Hatate will be leaving. I think O'Reilly 50-50. Obata for me is going to leave, and Ross, to be honest, I think Kyogo's going to leave. I know people are looking into this video that he released today on social media saying he loved every moment of the season. I think we bit of trust issues are going on here. Maybe he's just shared that highlight reel and all that stuff, but you can't help but worry. I think Kyogo's probably the one who might be going. Carter Vickers is going to stay because he's injured. I don't think no one's going to touch him for this transfer window, which plays into Celtic's hands. But it could be a weird summer, right? And Rick was asking very early on, when should the announcement be and how quick? Ross, what would be your time scale? Because you outlined your reasons there. Champions League football coming, the league's coming, pre-season, the tours of Japan and South Korea need to be taken into account, the playing squad, so the manager can evaluate it. What would your time scale be?
As a fan, selfishly, I would say next week, but I would say to get the right man, do their due diligence, I would say within the next 3 weeks. I have. Where are you fair at? You ken Whitburn well. That's where I was earlier on.
He knows Anthony. One of Anthony's mates.
Oh, does he? Does he? Aye. Right. I was down at Kegmart earlier. Aye. It's just nice and chilled. What were we saying there?
When do you think the announcement's going to be?
Aye. As I say, I think it needs to be within the next 2-3 weeks max. We need to know who the manager is going to be. Yes. What was that?
Yeah. Oh, the cynic within me is thriving right now. I don't know who in the squad to trust.
Aye, I know. Listen, once bitten, twice shy.
Yeah,
but I don't know. Next 2 to 3 weeks, we need to have the manager in place, nailed down, and I don't know. Just he'll come in and assess the squad. He'll find out who's angling to get away. And he'll have his own guys he wants to get in as well.
100%.
Absolutely, as soon as possible. Absolutely. Like the Mora, if it was Ken, if in an ideal world, the Mora tell us who it is. But they have to do their due diligence. We all know that. I'm not imparting any wisdom there.
Yeah.
But aye, as soon as possible is correct.
It's vital because, as you said, there's a lot of things need to be taken into account. Their evaluation of the squad and stuff, and players who want to move on. Then you have to come to getting used to different playing styles, which might be difficult for the team to get involved with. Obviously, playing Postecoglou style for 2 years, that there is cutthroat in itself. But I mean, in terms of the podcast, and I know Ross, you're a struggling man right now. I appreciate you sticking out and coming on. And we've reached like 90 odd live, and Pam's been saying it in the comments. Hit the like button, just the wee thumb. This thumb, that thumb. Hit the wee like button. And that we get, and then subscribe and share us among other Celtic communities. We greatly appreciate it, and everyone who's joined again new tonight, we greatly appreciate it. Who are here always with us, talking to us and giving us grief, like Monty all the time. We greatly appreciate all your comments, and Alistair Jack as well. And Moy retiring. What a way to end the podcast on a happy note. Aaron Moy is going to sail into the sunset, back over to Australia, sipping a wee beer on the beach with his family, where he should be. He's done with football, Ross. Have you enjoyed it?
What, Aaron Moy or the podcast?
No, the podcast. Let's not get into that.
I've enjoyed Aaron Moy this year. Well, certainly the 4 months, 3-4 months after the World Cup, I enjoyed them. But and I've enjoyed it tonight. As you know, I'm struggling a wee bit. I've done a couple of the but I've enjoyed it. I'm glad that we managed to get the podcast on tonight, and looking forward to another good month of content for us, hopefully coming up.
And then obviously you pointed at on Monday we're going to be doing the end of season review. Myself, Anthony Dunn, who Rick's been looking for, and William Dobbin. And then in the weeks ahead we'll have some great shows planned and a lot more beer. There's going to be a lot more beer this summer. But in the meantime, everybody stay well, keep the fingers crossed for who's next coming in as manager, and keep safe. Hail, hail.